In the previous video, we saw how we can create advanced effects using some of the smart masks and smart materials in Substance. And this is another example here of various applications of materials. We use the materials from Substance 3D Community Asset, which is a resource for downloading 3D models and textures and decals and other assets we can use inside Substance Painter. Now in this video, I also want to show you another resource that is the marketplace, and you can open it up directly from this little button here on the left toolbar, and this is directly going in the Creative Cloud application if you have it installed. Otherwise, you can go on Creative Cloud online on the website. It's going to look pretty similar. And essentially, we are in the 3D section. We're gonna go automatically in the 3D section by clicking on this button. And here we'll find other materials we can use. Now, in the previous example, we used some metallic and oil paint defects. We also apply some dynamic brushes to do some effects of burn and laser and worn out effects, wear of the metals, missing paint defects. Essentially, by adding defects, we make things a little bit more interesting and kind of we tell a story. So I'm gonna continue in this lesson to show you how you can use other resources, how you can assemble a quick scene, and also like a product design, a visualization, a product visualization and rendering using iRay, and using also the environment. We saw that we can also customize the background. We can make a nice plain background, or we can use an environment, HRI or EXR files. So let's go here and see what we have again at our disposal. So in this video, I want to focus more on, well, not metal, but I'm going to go in the fabrics. So this is right now in Italian. Sorry about that, but it's pretty simple. You have categories here on the left, and then you have all the samples. You can preview the models here on the right. And if you want to go for materials, you could just go here. You find surfaces or shaders or materials, something like that. So when you find something interesting, you can click on the information. You can see the format. You can see the measure, and you can just download by clicking in the little blue button here to download it. Or you can also click on this little arrow pointing down if you want to download it. Now this will go in your download folder, and then as we learned how to do also previously, you can install them by importing them as assets. You see we have also metals here that are pretty interesting, and then we have organic, and then paintings, and we have plastic, and so on. So among these, you also find like leather to create some leather effects. And again, you can click on the download to download whatever you want. And also we have fabrics. So a lot of different types of fabrics to create apparel design again, or cloth design, fashion design, and so on. So there's really a lot of content in this marketplace. And you can use, like, you have some credits. So basically, in my case, I have a monthly subscription, so I have like an amount of credits that I can spend on downloading assets. Well, some of these are free, so I just click here and you can download those anytime, I guess, without subscription. The other ones, they only are available with a license. Now, if we go down here, we also have other assets. So you have decals. Now these kind of represent fake 3D objects that you can place on a surface, and to make things a little bit more realistic. And then you have decals, again, like graphics. You can use like things that are like tattoos or stars, and you can customize all of this. Always have a look to the parameters in the material, because most of those, they can be edited, they can be customized. And also you see we have this stuff which can be useful for a wall and simulating vents or simulating electric sockets, and text, painting, tags, graffiti, paints, and all these defects again you can add to the surfaces of your models and your paintings. And these are the models. We have a lot of models also here. So in this video, I want to do a product design or something like concerning furniture and interior design. So I'm gonna look for chair. So you can look for throughout the whole marketplace, or we can just look for here in the 3D. And then you have also lights, which essentially are environments. So they're spherical textures that will be uh, going all around your scene, like a sphere around your scene. So those are not really lights, but they are like light systems. So you'll find like studios, and you see the format here is EXR. Usually these are HDRIs in other software, but you can also use HDRIs in Substance if you want. And they simulate like interiors, exteriors, and studios. So in this video, I want to use some studios because I want to show you how you can do a quick like product design visualization. So continue exploring, continue find the various models that you want or materials. And some of these are stylized like low poly cartoon or video game like models. Some of those are more realistic, so they have like more details and you can use them. Again, you see product design, apparel design, and character design, and so on. So have a good look to this resource because it's really, really interesting and really important. So again, I've chosen a specific chair. You can find them in the marketplace. So I've already downloaded everything and I moved everything into a folder inside my Substance folder, and I call this folder Marketplace. And here I've stored a lot of assets that I already downloaded. But I want to use this one here. It's called Barrel Chair, and there you go. I'm gonna leave everything as it is, and I don't even want to auto unwrap here because this is already packed and already optimized for Substance Painter, so I don't really need to do that. So well, anyway, just always check if everything is all right. Just paint on top of the model. You can see this is composed by the metallic bottom and the seat. So select the seat, just paint around and see if everything works. If you want to see it better, you can go in the 2D UV view here, so we can see that it's working fine. So we don't need to do anything that we did in the previous lesson, like auto wrapping, unwrapping, or like fixing the islands, the seams. Everything looks nice here. So let's just continue to work with things that we have imported. Now I want to make this a little bit bigger, and I'm gonna click on the plus, or I'm gonna click here on File and Import Resources. And again, I can choose if I want to use these only in the current session, if I want to store them in my assets, and so on. So let's go to Add Resources. And again, in the Marketplace folder, I've saved the other file type. So these are the 3D objects. These are FBX, by the way, that's the format. And here we have some EXR we can use for representing, the background. I'm just gonna pick one for this, and then let's get also some materials. So I'm gonna select all these materials that I have imported, and maybe just a couple of these HDRIs right here. Okay, let's open it up. So for those that are not recognized, you can see these are all base materials, by the way. So we're gonna go with base materials and smart masks in the video. And then the others that have not been defined, we can select them and say, okay, what are those? Well, those are other materials essentially. So, well, sorry, not this one, EXR. This is gonna be an environment. This one here is another environment. And then this is a texture, or could be a base material. But, well, let's just stick to environments and base materials. So go through all of those if they're not done automatically, and that's it. So let's import and let's wait. Okay, so you can see I've imported a series of assets, and you'll find them in the marketplace. Just if you want, just type these names for the materials,